In 2023, I've run nearly 800 miles. Most of them are in the shoes we're about to talk about. I've been training for Newport Marathon and I'm excited today to share with you my marathon training shoe rotation. We're going to break this down into 4 sections: easy and recovery day shoes, steady moderate miles, workout shoes and long run shoes. And within each of those sections, I'm going to share with you my favourites and my least favourite shoes of that area. So if you're excited for today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and let's dive straight in to the easy day shoes. Do a very quick disclaimer before we jump into this. There's a multitude of shoes in this video that have been sent to me by various companies for the purpose of review. However, these companies have no idea I'm making this video and they probably have no idea how I've been using the shoes either. So I just wanted to throw that one out there before we get into this. And we'll start with these two out of the first 4 easy day shoes: the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 and the 361 Centauri. Now, the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 was a shoe that took a couple of runs to grow on me. Midsole's a little bit firm, but once it opened up, it's been an absolute fantastic shoe, to the point where what tends to happen with me is if I really love a shoe, then after a while I kind of relegate them to, I use the word relegate probably wrongly there, but I use them as walking shoes because they're so comfortable. So I got over 100 miles in these in the end, and then I just moved them to my walking shoes because I love using them. So these are a daily trainer for me now. I use them all the time, everywhere. Absolutely love them. Then 361 reached out and sent me their Centauri model, which launched on January the 1st, and this really surprised me. This has been a really flipping good shoe. I nearly have 100 miles. I think I've got like 80 something miles in this shoe, and bearing in mind my Monday miles are only 45-minute runs every single Monday, it's the category where these shoes have probably logged the least amount of miles. And out of these 4 shoes, bar the Shift, which I had long before this, these have got the most out of the next 3 that I'm about, or the other 2 that I'm about to talk about. Really comfy, really surprised by this, a really top quality shoe. Then we've got the Puma Forever Run Nitro and the Saucony Guide 3, 2 of the more later shoes. And yeah, we'll start with the Puma. Absolutely fantastic shoe. Again, it's a supportive shoe. It's got supportive elements in it, but a neutral runner like me can get away with it. It's not sort of like full on support, very similar to this in my opinion, but this one has really grown on me. I was a little bit kind of on the fence with this when I first got it, but now I've started to gravitate towards this one probably as much as the 361 Centauri, and it's got far more miles in it than this one. And at the moment I got these shoes very close together, sort of within a week of each other. That's not to knock the Guide 16 at all, but I've just been really enjoying the comfort levels that this Puma is providing. The Guide 16 does everything I want it to in terms of just nice, easy daily miles. Very comfortable, a little bit on the firmer side, but still a really comfortable shoe. I love Saucony shoes. They're probably the best brand for me. But I feel this one is sort of like, I don't want to say average, but if we were to give them a rating, this would be a solid 7 out of 10. But I feel like the Puma and the 361 Centauri for sure would be a good 8. And I think the Saucony Endorphin Shift would be a good 8.5. And let's move on to the shoes that take up a lot of my steady and moderate miles. We'll start with these 2, and my moderate and steady miles tend to be on a Tuesday and a Friday, basically my medium long run and my Friday steady run. So to be honest with you, these are probably the second most used category, I should say, in terms of mileage and volume, bar the long run all week. So if we talk about the Zoom Fly first, this I said at the beginning of the year was going to get a lot of use during this training block, but it only has had really a couple of runs, and I think they've been a moderate run, maybe even an easy run to be honest with you, but they haven't had that much more. Not for any other reason, I've just had other shoes in for testing. So these kind of haven't had the most use, but again, a solid option. I still really enjoy this shoe, just been newer shoes in to test. The Nova Blast 3, again, started life well at the beginning of the training block, but again, kind of fizzled out as I got the next 2 pair of shoes in, which we'll talk about shortly. But again, a fantastic moderate day shoe. It's a shoe that I've kind of moved away from easy days. I find that I can clip along really nicely in this shoe very efficiently. The only thing I find in this shoe is my cadence dramatically drops in this shoe, and it's something I'm trying to work on, keeping a quicker cadence. So it's one that, again, I've kind of navigated away from, but I'll pick it back up once this training block is over. And then these 2 beauties came in to my life and completely stole the show with most of my moderate and steady miles: the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 and the Brooks Hyperion Max. I'm very aware this is a 2022 model, but I only got it sort of late 2022, and so this has had over, I think it's oh gosh, I want to say it's, I'll put it on screen, the mileage. I think it's had nearly 200 miles, or it's well over 100 miles, and it's been really good. The only problem I've had with the Speed is the cushioning in the back of the shoe here has become so thin that the last time I ran in it, which was a medium medium long run a few weeks ago. I got a blister on the back of my heel and it was really uncomfortable. I was really surprised, but I really find that padding at the back, like this is so firm and the cushioning is completely just kind of flattened out. So that's a little bit of a shame. I've shelved this for the moment, but before that happened, I have logged some really good miles. But then this thing, the absolute star of the show, the Brooks Hyperion Max, I think I got this, was it like last month or the month before? Probably the month before, in February. And it's got well over 200 miles now. It's overdue a 200 mile update video to share with you guys. You can see it's muddy, it's dirty, but this thing has handled, it is my favourite moderate run shoe, and this is going to overlap into other categories shortly, but this has been by far my favourite moderate day shoe. Cruises along so nicely and just eats up the miles. So just before we jump into the speed day ones, I completely just omitted this one from the moderate day category. And again, for me, I think this is where this one falls. I've only put 2 runs in it. It's very new into my rotation, but I just needed to give it a shout out. North Face Summit Vective. Great shoe. 2 runs in it so far. Loved it. One has been a medium long run, one's been just a steady run, but it's got over 20 miles. So both were really decent runs, like 75 minutes and 90 minutes. So really happy with that one too. That's going to get plenty more miles. Let's jump into the workout shoes. We've got the Magic Speed 2 and the Hyperion Max again. So again, this I've lent for faster workouts. I haven't put as many miles in this thing as I'd have liked during this training block. It's still well under 100 miles. I think it's like 60 or 70 miles. It's getting there slowly, but I'm just finding like when I put this thing on, the weight of this is just a little bit heavier than this, and I find like I glide way better in this. So still a solid shoe, still really enjoy it, but the Hyperion Max has got the nod for, again, most of the workout runs, bar this thing, which is now an older pair of Next Percent 2s that I've got, which now has over 100 miles, but again, I've been using this for workouts, and when I get closer to race day, I start to, if I can, and have the luxury to, which I guess I do in this situation, going to be racing the marathon in the Next Percent version 1s. I've got a pair of version 2s, so I'm using them for training just to start getting used to them in the final month leading up to the race. So yeah, more recently I've been using this thing for workouts, but for most of the block, and I think most of the workouts, this thing has had the nod. And 3 shoes to talk about in the long run section, but actually, again, I should have mentioned the Pro 3 in the speed day workouts. Haven't used it for a while for the speed day workouts, but I think back in the very beginning of the block, I used this for a couple of workouts. But again, this has had some good long runs in it, this block, earlier in the block, over 200 miles in it now. This is just one heck of a shoe. I think a lot of you guys agree with me. The Pro 3 is pretty darn special. Again, it's going to get more summer miles in it, plenty of life left in it, grips going on the bottom, so I'm going to be able to use it hopefully on the light trails that I run on. But overall, just such a fantastic shoe. So that one has had the nod on a few occasions for long runs, but again, I just go back to these 2 shoes here, the Hyperion Max and the Next Percent version 2. When I'm fancying a non-plated option on the trails, it's always been this shoe. You can see how dirty it is. It just picks up the mud and the dirt so much, but again, it's just such a well-used shoe. And on the roads the last couple of weeks, actually, let me rephrase that. Last weekend, I did it on the roads and I did it in this shoe. The weekend before that, I also did it in this shoe, and I think the weekend before that, I did it in this shoe. But then before that, it's pretty much all been on trails, so that's why the Max has had most of the long runs. But again, this thing has gone from like 20, 30 odd miles at the beginning of the block, now to like 110 miles. So this one's really ramping it up. So again, some great shoes there for the long run. So I do feel very lucky with that rotation and having so many shoes to test. I think if I was to pick some real favourites there, the easy run category would be the hardest one, because to be honest with you, the Endorphin Shift 3, the Puma, Forever and Nitro, and the 361 Centauri are real standout shoes. The Guide 16 is still really good, but those 3 shoes kind of, for me, sit a little bit above it. I've been really surprised by the 361 Centauri, how comfortable it is and how I've gravitated towards it. The Puma's really grown on me, and I remember when I was running in the Shift regularly, that was fantastic. So that's a really hard one to distinguish a favourite, and I just can't. In terms of moderate paces, the Hyperion Max wins all day long. Some great moderate shoes there, and I think, to be honest with you, the North Face Summit Vective, again, that's going to get plenty of moderate summer day miles. That's going to be amazing. Workouts, again, Hyperion Max blows the Magic Speed out of the water. Magic Speed is still great, but the Hyperion Max is just superior. And of course, you can't look past the 2 plated shoes I showed you in the long run. Again, the Hyperion Max ate up all of the trail miles. You've probably seen a lot of the long run videos I've done. mostly using the Hyperion Max, but the two-plated shoes, the Pro 3, just absolutely stellar. The Next Percent version 2 doing a solid job in position ready to get me used to the Next Percent version 1 on race day. So again, can't really pick a favourite there, but overall you've probably gathered the Hyperion Max has covered more bases than any of the shoes and covered more miles than any of them, got to well over 200 miles really quickly, and yeah, it's got to be my favourite of the bunch. So that's it for my spring 2023 marathon training shoe rotation. I'd love to hear from you guys what yours is. Have you picked up some shoes this year that I haven't tested yet that you'd really recommend? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Like, what's your favorite easy trainer? What's your planned race day trainer? What's your best go-to speed day session shoe? I'd love to hear it all in the comments below. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.